Game with MakingStarWars.com. With MakingStarWars.com.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm not going to do the other opening today. I'm just in that kind of mood. I was in the mood that I wanted to make a your mom accusation, joke, whatever, to YouTube because I don't ever see that on YouTube. And I think that should be a thing. I think you should just be like scrolling on YouTube and it should just be like uh, 15 times PewDiePie was like your mom. See, I would be
It's
into
all about playing the dozens. You know, that's how we do it here. It's how we roll in San Francisco. Yeah.
hmm So yeah, the big news of the day, if you will, which kind of carries over into yesterday, really, but it was one of the contributors to Slash Film was like naming people who were associated or who were contenders for the Sabine role, and a couple of things about it. Like number one, I'm not talking any trash on them, so to speak, for like saying who they heard the contenders are or whatever. I usually kind of like don't like doing that because number one, you never know how it's going to turn out, so it's almost irrelevant until it's signed, until there's like at least like in some kind of like intent deal. And then number two is that like they probably saw 100 people last month. So the fact that we're hearing about like two or three, to me, it's just probably irrelevant. It doesn't mean it's going to be. It doesn't mean that one of the people that were spoken about won't be it. It doesn't mean that but usually I don't think it goes down to like, oh, what are we gonna do? They're really vying for it. We need him in here. We need him singing. We need this like American Idol style.
It's the
You
chorus
know,
line. They have to keep dancing until they break. Right.
America's Got Talent. Put one of them up on one of those hoops where they spin around in the sky, and so let's see how they do. But I don't know.
In a
I'm
world, there's in a proper fair universe, Weird Al Yankovic's comebacks for UHF2 and
yeah.
just spoofs all that stuff. Right. Just as
Yeah.
dumb and as well put as he did 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I could use a sequel to that movie. It's a shame that there wasn't one. But thank God for Diet Shasta Twist.
Ooh.
It tastes like balls.
Deep.
Balls. So yeah. Yeah, but I'm glad that we are going to see more characters from the animated shows like jumping over into live action. The anti-snob in me hates the idea that like it's a promotion. At the same time, the realist in me is like it is a promotion because once a character jumps over to live action, that's the chance for the character to, I don't think immortal's the right word, but have a huge presence on
Well, it's a
that
product
IP.
of America,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we value the live action and treat animation like the
Yeah,
and my buddies in Japan are like live actions. You watch any live action, anything, movie, show, 9 times out of 10, it's super goofy and low rent, and all the money gets put in animation.
right.
So it's just weird how the cultures like differ like that. But yeah, I mean, she ends up in a series or a movie or something, and then now it's real. So, but I mean, look, it's all good because if they're not using those spaces to develop and cultivate, new heroes, then what's really the point? Is it really just action figures and generic T-shirt lines for every 3 years?
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. And that character and so Rebels, like I said before, I do love Rebels, but Rebels is the show that is maybe the most uneven for me in totality. Lot of good stuff in it. And I think if you aren't a negative person, you tend to remember the good. And when you rewatch it, to me, because I go both ways, it ends up being like
Shasta.
Shasta. It ends up being like it's not as bad episode to episode without the weight, but it's also there are those moments that annoyed me that are just still annoying to me. But her character, like if you want to take it down to its essence, like as I don't know, a paper doll is the right way to put it. But you want to just take it down to its essence. It's a Mandalorian who's been removed from Mandalore because of the war and the Empire, and then is an artist, and then joins the rebellion, and sometimes does some tagging. Like the very like core of that is rad. You know, my daughter did some tagging this week. Went wrote her name on a sign, got in trouble. We made her clean it.
You
But
remember you were just saying how easy they are and they cause no trouble, and then
yeah,
right?
Yep.
Creativity strikes.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. She's a little punker. Yeah, but I mean, she, so that I think that character has a lot going for her. The fact that they delved into her backstory in Rebels too, like we learn like about her family and what's going on with that various houses at the time, or clans or whatever they're called. And as a white guy, I'm pretty nervous when I say clan. I'm like, oh, am I not supposed to be saying that? Because that just feels weird. But the Mando clans.
Just always end it with McLeod and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, right. But anyways, they kind of started the show with like Ezra being like romantically interested in her, and then she kind of like blows him off, which is what you would kind of expect to happen. But then they don't really pick it back up on it as the show goes on. It doesn't feel like there's like that kind of chemistry there, and maybe there just isn't that. But on one hand, at the time, it kind of annoyed me because I'm like, you put two teenagers on a spaceship together for like a couple of years fighting a war, like they're gonna at least go out and get a blue milk or something. But on the flip side, the fact that that kind of stuff didn't happen does leave it way more. At least leaves it open for is there something there, and that's why she wants to find Ezra. Or is it just Ezra's just her Aladdin buddy? I don't know. It could go a lot of different ways about what they're going to do with her. And she also like Ahsoka and her, like what's weird about it is I watched Rebels a couple times now, and the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine is it's very much just like they're in the same place a lot. You know what I mean? I don't really like, and that's what's kind of one of the things about the new series that I'm kind of curious about. And maybe I need to watch it again from a different perspective, and I'm just not remembering it or something, right? But I don't feel like that, like they definitely at the end they go off together to find Ezra, looking for him. He's out there somewhere, space welling around. But so I'm kind of curious as to
like the Enya music.
Yeah. And we also don't get to see like the rest of the Galactic Civil War and stuff, and with her with Sabine. So if she should enter the show, and when I say become a new character, I mean they can do big personality switches to her if they should need to or want to, and a new actor coming in to play the part is probably going to end up doing that to some degree either way. Just like Rosario Dawson doesn't necessarily feel like Ashley Eckstein's sort of like Pollyannish depiction of Ahsoka at all. She is completely like devoid of that Disney spirit in that same way. And that's not a knock on Ashley Eckstein. Ashley Eckstein turned that into a fantastic character, and that
could you
spans
imagine meeting
shows.
your 15-year-old self though? Like as much as you think like, you're not that different in a lot of ways, you meet your 15-year-old self, and you're like, I fucking hate this kid. I hate me. I know. Like if I met 15-year-old me, I'd be like, bro, you gotta like get outside. Like seriously. Like, like it's the one thing I never wanted to do. It's like, no, you need to step outside. Like it's too much in the room, with the drawing.
Yeah, the one thing about myself I'd say is that I am consistent in my taste in terms of art and what I like and that kind of jazz. Sure. So music and stuff like that. So we would get along there, but after that I'd be like, dude, we gotta have a talk.
I know political 1994 for Rob would be like, nothing really matters. I'm a libertarian. I'll be like, you know what, man? Yeah, I'm a smack.
Yeah.
Like Ren and Stimpy. What is with you, man?
Right.
You know.
Okay. Really quickly, we have some interesting chat stuff today. Like,
Let's do it.
Jordan, thank you for being a channel member and supporting the show. I appreciate it, man. Urgent message for General Hugs about his mother.
I like General Hugs. Like that is something that if Detours had made it to the sequel trilogy, General Hugs would have been a nice.
Yeah. When I
first
saw the movie, I didn't catch that. And it wasn't until the second time I saw it that I was like, yep, he does say that.
I just now got that.
Yeah.
Like
you really? You never noticed that post?
Never, not until right now. Yeah.
He calls him General Hugs, and he's just like that's why I was saying like they really Marcus Brody him up in the second episode, or in episode 8. Hux. He becomes like the clown version of himself after that. He's just an idiot, and they make fun of him. But Thrawn says, should I hold on to my Black Series Sabine first version? I don't know much about how the modern collectible stuff works with how much they shovel out, just to be honest with you. On one hand, yeah, I would think so. On the other hand, they're going to make a superior one. I would say in the next year, probably, if she's in the show. I have to burp, man. I feel better now.
You need a mute button like I got here on the mic, bro.
This is delicious Diet Shasta. Tastes like balls. Should I hold on to my Black Series Sabine's first version? Yeah. So anyways,
bro.
No, not from Shasta, but what's like that one?
President's Choice.
President's Choice, guys. Yeah. I'm willing to have meetings. Let's talk. So Jordan says the last thing I thought I'd hear is your mom show was it tastes like balls. Balls. Sweaty balls. Says Thrawn.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it to NPR. With yeah.
For some reason as a kid, Thrawn Talk says she's the Christian Slater of Star Wars. For some reason as a kid, I made up my mind I had to have a favorite actor. And everybody was picking Jack Nicholson. So I picked Christian Slater. I was like, he's like the cooler young version because they sound the same.
Gleaming the Cube.
Yep. Gleaming the Cube was good. Also rebroadcast on Fox as A Brother's Justice. I don't know why, but they did that. And I was pretty pissed about it.
He does die, and then he kind of takes his girlfriend. I don't know. So, Tony Hawk's in it.
Yeah.
For like
Tony Hawk's in it.
Yeah.
The Star Wars Post. Hello, Mr. Max. See you, Max. See what you're doing there. Put the pants on, bud. The Star Wars Post. I don't see how a live-action Finding Ezra show is going to appeal to the masses, especially considering tons of folks never saw Rebels. There's got to be another storyline here somewhere. I'm gonna go with that being correct. I mean, there's probably going to be various threads, the story A, B, and C, and I'm gonna guess that that finding them or helping them. Like, here's the whole thing. Okay, let me backtrack. You could literally have a premise with a side story that her friend needs her, and it's Sabine, and then they do that. And then it's like, it's just completely fan service and it sucks. Like, that could happen. On the other side, I feel like if they are going that route, they need to, that little moment in Mandalorian where she's like, where's Thrawn or whatever she says. Okay, cool. But once we get there, we need like more exposition to allow us to care, because you can't expect people to watch Rebels. I know for a fact, like I can think of like 5 or 6 people off the top of my head that I know in real life who will watch this show, but will never watch Rebels no matter what. They're just not going to watch the cartoon. So the show's going to have to make us care about them. The Marvel ones do it though. Like, I don't really care about Marvel, but like Loki, and I never cared about Loki. Honestly, like I remember going to like D23 and like everybody screaming and crying over that dude. I'm just like, I don't care. I watched the show and I like him now. You know what I mean? I thought he was. I think he's cool now, and I get it. But So they're going to have to do something that makes sense or makes that like worthwhile. And there needs to be some reason that we need to find Ezra other than he's our friend. Like just a show going like, I'm trying to find my friend. Excuse me, have you seen this boy? He looks like
It's
Aladdin.
late 80s Jim Henson, right? Where everything's just really soft and happy.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to find a friend.
Gotta find her. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Carmen!
Yeah.
You got to find a friend.
Yeah.
Right.
So I could see like, so I think the fact that she's like looking for Thrawn, it has an like almost a Kill Bill implication that that it's a bit revengey. That's a bit
wish.
Yeah.
Don't invoke the KB unless
Yeah,
you're gonna
well,
go there. You know?
I mean, it does feel like it, when we see her go to that place with Mando in that episode, that she is essentially bringing justice. You could say revenge, not really the Jedi way, but she's not really a Jedi either. But it kind of falls into that weird. She falls in that weird place that it's a hard read sometimes. But
she's where I'm hoping that Rey goes. Really, you know what I mean? Like I don't really think Rey should be the. I don't think Rey should be the. One second.
Yeah, it's never fun.
Build a temple and drag kids over. You know what I mean? I just don't see her being that. I see her wandering like Kung Fu King from Kung Fu, from planet to planet, helping out wherever the Force wills her, kind of thing. You know, like.
But so Ahsoka knows about that beacon in Mando. She tells Mando to take Grogu there, and then that's how Grogu essentially calls out to like Luke.
The most Tolkien thing we've seen so far in a live action Star Wars setting, I think.
Yeah,
right? The floating stones and
Filoni's really into that shit too, to Lord of the Rings and all that. But
so 50-50.
Yeah, I like Willow. I like shit to move. Anyways, point is, Ahsoka knows about the Luke phone. Luke knows about the Luke phone. Grogu uses the Luke phone. So it makes me think that Ahsoka has called Luke before. It makes me think that she's been in contact with them. What happened when Luke and Ahsoka met? She's like, hey, I'm Ahsoka. He's like, hey, you knew my dad? He's like, yeah. And then he's like, hey, want to join my Jedi Order? It's not your dad's Jedi temple. And she's probably like, no. But she might have said, yeah. So maybe finding Ezra is about bringing him back to Skywalker, because if they just say Skywalker a lot, everyone goes, I love it. They said Luke Skywalker, you guys, he's the guy from the movie I like, and so that could happen.
There's an episode of DuckTales where Launchpad the Darkwing Duck's a TV series in a show, like the 60s Batman that he grew up with, and so the character is the name of the character that in the cartoon was Drake Mallor, but in the DuckTales show, it's the name of the actor that did the voice. Every time Launchpad meets him, he just passes out. I'm your biggest fan, and then he goes, "Oh well," and then he just passes out like every time. You know, it's just like that. It's like you just say Skywalker, and some of these dudes, man, just
and I mean, and don't get me wrong, I get it. Like I understand. I'm just kind of afraid of a little bit afraid of being manipulated by it in a way of it covering for like substance, but that isn't necessarily a bad storyline if they did take it, and we don't have to suffer through it like 15 more times after this one, you know, because I mean, like, it's like, we have no idea what does she do for a living? What's her job? Like,
Amway.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Does she go around? Yeah. She's like, I got this Liku trimmer. Look, it shrinks your Leku or whatever they're called. And now you don't look like you did in Rebels. Isn't that cool?
You only got to use 10% of it versus the store-bought brands, which require a full scoop. Like,
yeah, she's like, these are different, but he still looks like Aladdin, so it's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I hear pretty often from people, and I get it. They're like, it's hard to be excited for the Taika movie because I don't know anything about it, and there's not even a premise for it. Like why do I care? It's just Taika. That's the only thing to be excited for. And in a weird way, like that's kind of how I feel about Ahsoka with just these implications that we have. I like the character, but I also don't just like characters that like are just like they just show up and here they are, so it's good. They cashed that check on me a long time ago. They cashed that check on me in season 2 of Rebels. And they're like, here's Lando, here's Darth Vader, here's Yoda, here's, and you're just like, okay, it doesn't matter if they just show up and it's not really eventful or it's not really memorable.
Right.
And that's not to say like Yoda and Vader were good. Lando, not so much. They really wasted Lando. But what else we got? Mr. Lopez, how's it going, dude? Ahsoka owes Ezra her life, and to Sabine, he's family. So, right, and and that's really insiders like us stuff though.
Ohana.
Like, yeah, like somebody who's just like starting the show and has never seen Rebels. It has to work by itself.
Kind of me, I mean, I've seen
yeah.
it, but
Yeah, you're like familiar, but you don't really you haven't seen every episode.
I know what happens in the end because everyone wouldn't shut up about it when it came out. So all right,
he goes to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
They find him. They're like living in San Diego. They're actually in a documentary.
And he finds out that those poor whales are swimming in their feces for 30 years. Just breaks your heart.
And then you find out Ezra was responsible. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for the Rebels fans. I'm not going to lie.
He feeds the dolphins churros. No, Ezra, don't do it. Have a strict diet.
Nolan Ryan says, "What do you guys think of Rex showing up in the Ahsoka series too?" I mean, that seems like if you have all of these other people showing up and Tamara Morrison's making stuff, that seems so on the table. And unless they want to, hold it back for more seasons of her show. Because they've never said that Ahsoka was a limited series. I don't believe I've ever heard that language associated with it. So I think Ahsoka should be an ongoing series if people watch it. And so with that in mind, they definitely are going to want to not cash everything in the first season. But with her, Obi-Wan isn't around anymore and Anakin's not around. Like all of the people that who are associated with Ahsoka from the Clone Wars stuff, other than Rex, there's not really any of them left. So you do have, if you want to pepper her show with characters that she has been associated with and who are like her family or her friends who are close to her in the series, you do have to rely on that Rebels cast primarily as people to bring back. So, and he says hello there.
Hello, mate.
Carl says, end of season 2 of Rebels, I Am No Jedi is some of the best Star Wars that exists. On the other hand, the Lando episodes are just goofy. I agree, very inconsistent as a show. Yeah, like I feel like and I don't know a lot about it, so I'm like speculating, but like Greg Weisman was like a part of that and then wasn't, and I think there might have been weirdness there maybe. And so
power battle, a Disney Civil War.
I don't know, like and then you had like Kinberg was involved, and so it seemed like there was like and it seemed like
bro.
Yeah,
Doc Kinberg. So like, I went to go see. I told you that X-Men Apocalypse,
right?
And he, we were at the LA theater, and Jeff Goldsmith did an interview with him, and Jeff's the mensch, dude. Like he literally keeps everything super cool, and you've done all these great work, and you worked on all these things, and I'm looking at Kimber like, nah, you're still the guy that wrote Triple X too, And I don't mean like you wrote it like for a job, like that's you,
Yeah.
like. And any he's never written anything that on his own that I've seen that goes beyond Triple X too. And I'm not gonna be Tolkien either, but I'm not also gonna be like, oh, my first live action movie, I'll write and direct an X-Men film. Like that would not be good.
Right.
And so when his movie came out, he was like, I'm watching it, and the X-Men go into space, right? It's this whole stupid thing. They go into space. Well, that was Dark Phoenix, right? But he was like, he was talking about, in X-Men Apocalypse how he wanted it to go. He was talking about maybe alluding to making Fantastic Four, like a reboot, right? A reboot, right? After the Josh Trank deal.
Right.
And I'm like, he would be such a fucking bad idea. I'm like, watch him try to worm this shit into X-Men, because Marvel did an X-Men Fantastic Four thing in the early 2000s. And the next movie, they're going into space. And I'm like, motherfucker's working in his Fantastic Four bit into this, Like, it's so... What is with this dude? Like, there's something very... I don't know about Kimber, man. Like, he's just very 2000s, remember when every movie trailer was let the bodies hit the floor?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's Kinberg to me. I don't, am I making any sense with that vibe?
So
like,
you're saying he's the Xbox of creators.
He's the X-Spray. Axe spray.
X-Spray.
Right. Like that, he's the fear factor of of screenwriting.
Yeah. So you have Kinberg, you have Greg Weisman, then you have the standard animation Lucasfilm people. And then I don't know, we still don't really know who contributed what, and I think it was sort of done in a more of maybe like around but and then later on, I think Gilroy comes. I don't think Gilroy was involved at first, and then he comes back and he was the guy who did a lot of the good Clone Wars stuff. Was initially like the showrunner of Clone Wars, but then George Lucas was like showrunning it. And then he was like, well, I think he was like, why am I here? And then went and did some other stuff and then came back. And
why are you here? Get out.
He's like, yeah. He's like, I feel like working today. Bye.
I can buy all the Gilroys, Like, there's a bunch of you and the Hemsworths, I own you. Have you heard from NSYNC lately?
but you have all that, and then you also have Dave Filoni running that show without money. And so I think that I think it might have just been pulled in a bunch of different ways at certain moments. And then it wasn't until we get to like around the third season that it gets a lot more consistent. This is
something I wonder with Lucasfilm in general. Like, when it comes to the cartoons, I still don't think they know if they're making something for 8-year-olds or 30-year-olds. You know? And I know you want to make something for everybody, but like, I just watched the first episode of What If, and it's extremely well animated, and they have guns and people die as they would in World War II. You know what I mean? They're not hiding from that, and it's still a cartoon. It sounds like Disney expressions and stuff, but it works. But they're not everyone's like with stuns, or they're just, I imagine in the classical like Cartoon Network way, they would have just been like hit on the back of the head, all the time, or something would happen off camera, and that's my problem with these shows, was when I see, I'm not saying they need to get bloody, but they have to be within Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Oh, I think the other factor too, by the way, was Disney XD. I think that channel was launching around that time. They decided to move it there, which was like, why are you guys doing that? It really hurt. I think it hurt the show. I think it made it it was not easy to see for a lot of people. And so I think that they were being told to fit within a model of Disney XD. And so I'm guessing someday we'll figure out exactly why it was the way that it was, for better or worse.
Little known fact, Kinberg came up with that name.
Yeah, he was like, oh, what if we turn a sideways, an emoji on its side? Kids love that.
Extreme Disney. We'll call it XD. It's like HD, but an XD for extreme. Like, oh, wow, thanks, Kinberg.
Good work,
and we can let the bodies hit the floor. Like, no. It's a time out. Saved by the bell.
Yeah. I was interested in seeing what he would do with it as an action guy, Mr. and Mrs. Smith stuff. I could kind of see what they were trying to get.
It would
from
involve
him.
A train. That's what Kinberg does in every fucking film he works on. He puts a train in it. Same with Days of Future Past. There's this train sequence that comes out of nowhere where Magneto has the ability to rewire bombs using his magnetical abilities, like rewire and reprogram. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. And then I go find the script. It's not in the shooting script. This is a Kinberg moment. This is what Kinberg added. Was it the screenwriter? She wrote First Class, and she writes all like Kick-Ass. She writes a lot of
okay, so she's good.
That director stuff. She did the actual script for that film, and then when her and the director, what's his name, the guy who did, he did all the Kingsman fucking films.
Kingsley.
Yes. Anyway, the director from
Nightly
Kick-Ass
Kingsley.
And Matthew Vaughn. So when Matthew Vaughn backed out of Days of Future Past for God knows what reason, probably money, Kinberg kind of like came in and got the credit for that script, so it was like, no, not really. Yeah. He'll add a train. That's why there's a train sequence in Dark Phoenix, right?
On today I hung out for a little while with Star Wars Santa and his chat with Mark Hamilton, and Mark Hamilton on Santa's show, which is great. You should check it out if you haven't. And is that he suggested this really cool thing. He's like, what if the Bad Batch? And I think this was Mark's idea, but if I'm wrong, let's just say Mark stole it. He says that wouldn't it be cool if he's like, what if the Bad Batch are the people who save Grogu?
They're the good batch, right?
No, but I mean, like, if we get that story where about the people who get Grogu out of the temple,
bitch, that is a good idea.
That would be a great idea. Yeah, he said that, and I was like, damn, that is a good ass idea.
He gets that DiCaprio Great Gatsby,
Thrawn Talk says some of the best Lando is on his mission with Shriv. Oh, that's in the Battlefront game, right?
My poor eyesight, it looked like Steve. I'm like, Steve from Star Wars?
Yeah.
That's a Taika movie.
on Monday, Santa's coming to town. He's gonna come and hang out with us on Monday.
How has there not been an all-out action movie called Santa's Coming to Town? And it's just Santa like it is, and it's his War on Christmas. It's Santa versus Jesus or something. I know, I took it there.
You took it there. James says, how pissed do you think JJ was that they turned his psychotic Hux into a joke? I don't know. I don't think so, because I felt like when he turned him into the traitor, it was kind of like it was still the same little weasel like that he was in The Last Jedi. I didn't feel like they all of a sudden like made him a psychotic mastermind or something like that.
It's not like the Nazis in any of the Indie Jones were written like Hans Landa from, you know what I mean? From Inglourious Basterds. They're not intelligent, nuanced versions of the Third Reich, like they're literally, "Viva get you, Dr. Jones,"
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what Hux. He's literally. I mean, I the way Hux is written, I'm like, I can see, Kasdan going, sure,
Yeah. It kind of ends up it doesn't actually bother me. Like I don't really think he's so central that like that. Same thing with Marcus Brody. I don't think it matters that Marcus turns into the comic relief later on. It just ends up because in every movie you kind of they just need different things, and he filled that role. Oh, there we go. Allison says, "Pump up the volume."
I know. We all know. It's a good movie until the very end when it literally just turns into a giant. And then you got to do this. And you got to get up. And you got to rise up. Blah, 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 blah. 4 years later, internet, everyone.
it had the Pixies on the soundtrack before it was cool.
I thought for certain his teacher wanted to bone him in that movie, though, man. Like him and his teacher are like really close in age, and she's really into Christian Slater.
Yeah, he's Christian Slater though. Thrawn Talk Podcast says Tony Hawk driving a Pizza Hut truck. So there you go. That was what he did. D'Angelo,
it's a Simon Kinberg movie.
How's it going, Mr. D'Angelo? Slater is the best. True Romance is still one of my favorite movies.
We'll call the movie 30 Minutes or Less. and it
30
goes on
minutes
2.5 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just let the bodies hit the floor, for 45 minutes.
Yeah. 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 I think it's also about, to go back to the original like topic of Baby Bit too. Um, I don't think the Hollywood Reporter article on the Sabine piece said that like anybody was like a front runner either. I think it
So
said like
no agent is trying to put their person out there
so.
who definitely did not get the role.
Well, that's kind of what I'm like where I'm going with it. Like what I said before is when you hear about somebody who was almost Finn, it's usually because the agent wants to put them out there and then hope that they get snatched up for something else because they're hot. They're hot, baby.
I'm old
we
enough
need
to
that
remember being at my cousin's house in Cerritos and just turning on the TV in the morning to see if
Mhm.
maybe Superboy reruns are on Channel 5 or something.
Mhm.
And not a good show, but it's vaguely Superman.
I watched it, the live action one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's Sean Young walking out in his gown trying to be Catwoman, and I was like, what is going on? It was some talk show, like an Oprah thing or something.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube.
Good Morning. Yeah, I know, but I just saw it live, like randomly.
Yeah.
What is when it happened, right? I was like, what is? And as a kid, I'm like, stop doing that, whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
Julie Newmar didn't do that.
Yeah, she was. I feel like she was like trying to act like crazy, so they were like, "Whoa, she's psychotic. She can do it," or something. But it just came off crazy instead.
I need to get like I guess if I was I am dumb. So if I had the phone booth from Bill and Ted's, I'd just go back and get the Tom Cruise on the couch, and I'd get her on that show. And I just put them together, right? Like, see what happens.
No, I would
roll.
I would put her with LSD tripping Crispin and Glover from Letterman at the same time, and then just see what happens.
And let Gary Busey like officiate, right?
It would be like, it would probably be like the Anna and Nicole Smith show on E. It'd probably be like that.
Yeah, the sad part though, she was hopped up on opiates most of the time, so
yeah,
it's a bummer.
Yeah, she partied hard. Mark Hamilton said, "I'm still waiting for Hasbro to make vintage collection figures from Rebels. Need the Ghost Crew badly." What are you doing, Hasbro? Why are you guys messing around? Star Wars Santa says Disney's 3Q21 earnings call starts in 15 minutes.
Santa's on it for toys, man. Like, that's Santa. He's, he's the Matthew McConaughey of,
when they do those like earnings calls, sometimes they drop big things and sometimes they don't say anything at all. I used to tune into them live and it's like waiting, and then I was like, nah, it doesn't matter.
I just want them to do sound effects where it just sounds like them tossing Bob Chapek around a room and knocking stuff over. This is what you get, Chapek. This is what you get when you heck with the mouse.
they go and up next is not Bob Iger to talk.
Oh.
Disney's not Bob Iger, a new movie starting Chapek.
Yeah, what about Bob?
He's gonna when they call Willow a peck, he's gonna get really mad. He's like, "That's what they used to call me because it sounds like my last name."
Walter?
Cut it. Joel Williamson says, "Is Rob one of the people that will never watch Rebels?"
No, I said I'm gonna watch it for the show. So like when there's no Star Wars out, then I'm gonna go watch an episode every Thursday night. I'm just gonna start watching one of these cartoons so we have something to talk about on Fridays, Yeah. And but I'm gonna get through the Clone Wars and then I'll get through the Rebels and
Yeah,
we'll get there.
If you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it.
I had to. I told you I worked on the licenses. The problem is the minute you start putting stuff from shows on the shirts, Walmart gets mad. Yeah. They're like, that's too inside baseball. Just put the Force rules is awesome. Challenge accepted on a shirt. So
right.
It's like, well, I'm not watching the shows for my benefit, so like I'm off to go watch anime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it does. I don't condone that, their point of view. I get where they're coming from, but it's like what they need to pretty much realize is that the people that are going to buy it are either fans or it's just like character recognition in the sense like, oh, little boys and girls like this. And so it could like literally be inside and it wouldn't matter.
Dude, I was the guy who was told, stop telling them that. You're
Yeah.
making things difficult, Rob. I'm like, look, someone should tell them. They're
Right.
wondering why these stuff aren't selling. Well, why don't we at least try to get some sold to the people who are fans of the show versus generic nonsense that, you know, when they go to school and other fans of the show look at the shirt and it's some generic bullshit, they're not going to respect them. Like that was my whole argument. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a bunch of people who didn't like this stuff when we were teenagers and 8-year-olds, and now telling me what 8-year-olds and teenagers are thinking about the show. It's just the most frustrating thing ever.
For a second, I thought we had a love connection between Mark Hamilton and D'Angelo. He's like, I love True Romance too, D'Angelo, but he means the movie. I thought they were just
Big
like
fan of Beverly D'Angelo. We're out for
right?
Christmas vacation.
I just had this really, really random fun fact come into my head. As a kid, we used to go to the train tracks on the other side of town because you would find pornography. I wanted to see naked ladies. So
that scrap of porn that would fly around, or some
there's
old
like
magazine.
newspapers and stuff.
Right.
We find one, and it was really boring, and it was an article with this pornographer talking about how he is sending letters to Beverly D'Angelo from vacation because he thinks she would be great in his movies, and that if she just did it, they could make more money than she ever made in Vacation. And so as a kid, I was like, man, I wonder if she's going to do it.
That was Larry Flint.
Right. It was. Yeah. I wonder who it was. I wonder if it was anybody.
Simon
or
fucking
if it was, that's how he started. He's like, then I took the Beverly D'Angelo fortune and I started my current
Triple
script
X
business.
2.
I jumped from Triple X to Triple X. Thrawn Talk Podcast says it will be Thrawn is amassing some sort of large fleet or planning a strike somewhere sensitive, and she will try to use Ezra to get to Thrawn. Yeah, I mean, like that could happen, but that has to probably be predicated upon the idea that they either make it back, because that's one of the things, that one of the questions, like as a Star Wars fan who just jumps from show to show, if you watch Rebels, you're probably going to be okay with them actually doing whatever. You'll probably just, I don't mean this like as an insult. I mean, you'll probably like go with whatever the story is. You'll go with it and try it. But they could have Ezra and Thrawn have already been found, and it's not that at all. That already happened, and they could tell that story in another way, another time, and it could be completely a different kind of situation. But it would be weird if we have another guy who gets thrown out into the abyss of the galaxy and then builds a fleet again. It's like, how does he do it?
Or he becomes John Lithgow from Santa Claus the movie, and he just makes a bunch of defective Grogu merch, and the rebels got to stop him from ruining Star Wars Life Day or whatever.
They get Jake Lloyd back, make like a Jingle All the Way reboot in the Star Wars universe. Sinbad is Mace Windu's like son.
You speaketh my soul.
You know, I actually kind of like Jingle All the Way. I really don't hate it.
Bro, it's got Playco in there. Like, I'm like, I would have been on that set had I just joined up like 3 months earlier. Because my manager and everyone was there. They were all in it, you know? So they flew
Dude,
in,
come on.
They drove in to help out with all that stuff, yeah.
Man, if you had been
met Sinbad and everybody, I was like, God damn it!
You met Sinbad,
you know. But I had to stay home and play Nintendo 64. You know, that's what happened. I got that Nintendo 64 on September 27th, 3 days early, and I just didn't do anything from September to December. I was like, now I need to go work at a toy store.
I think he made the right choice. They had it displayed early at Montgomery Ward's for some reason at Lakewood Mall.
Yeah, they had those previews at consoles. Incredible Universe had one too.
Yeah, me and Randy would just go there and we would just sit there and like play Mario 64 all day. And at one point we actually moved a whole living room set over in front of it and hung out. And then they started kicking us out. And then we would go and do it again because there's no ramifications for getting kicked out of Montgomery Wards. They don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, no, right? Who won?
I had a
Which
good time.
Ward won, right? Montgomery
Right?
or Jason, right? You
Jason
should have been like, my
round
name is Jason Ward. Do you know
Yeah.
who my father is?
About a couple months later, when me and Randy got our first jobs, the guy who kicked us out, we went there to buy a TV, and he was like, "All right, you guys are customers now." Like, yeah, we got jobs now, and he was like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm gonna give you guys the good open box shit." I'm like, "All right, here we go, man." I got myself an Admiral. It was an Admiral TV. It was like the offshoot of Magnavox. Yeah,
Right.
I used to watch the Star Wars
Nice.
special editions on that baby with picture in picture. So,
Yo, man, I was such a nerd for resolution. I only bought 13-inch televisions because it compressed the image down so you got a nice sharp clean image, And I was like, that's right, I got a Sony Trinitron 13-inch.
oh, you got a Trinitron?
Yeah. Hey, bro, they're not that expensive when they're 13 inches. Like,
Right.
like it's like 200. Remember, this is when Walmart had layaway, so I could put that thing in there in January, and have that shit paid off by September.
Yeah, we actually went to a Playco Toys at the Lakewood Mall that was there for a very brief time. Like it did not last. But they let us do the Shadows of the Empire box of figures in payments. And we were just like teenagers, so we were like, yeah. So we like, me and him, just there was like 2 of every figure in there, and yeah. But they probably were there for about 6 months. I think I actually might have even lost money there. Fuck you, Playco.
That's when I was working at Playco, where we got those Shadows figures, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got the game, and I'm like, oh, it's like $100. Do I get a discount? And they're like, not on the games. Damn it. You just get the first dibs. I'm like, well, first dibs for Rob.
First dibs for Rob. Dark Wintra says, I hope they reveal she was on the world training when the magistrate arrived and she recognized her droids, leading to her efforts to find out what they knew about Thrawn. And is Thrawn behind Moff Gideon? And that's what I found interesting in the Mando episode, is that she calls like Thrawn her master. And if they're in like normal, they're not in space well territory, as far as I could tell, in that part of the galaxy. So was she just like an acolyte of Thrawn, and she hasn't seen him in 10 years? So it's kind of weird that Ahsoka, or I don't know how many years it's been, but is it weird that Ahsoka's going after her? Because that's like the other question I kind of have about it. If he's still out there, that's kind of a weird person to go after, unless there's something from the story I am missing or not considering. Allison says, the most Tolkien thing in Star Wars was Christopher Lee. I mean, George was like, well, I killed Maul. I need a new villain to play. Get me Saruman.
He could have been, but not really. He was more like poor man's Hammer film, Christopher Lee. And I don't know. Like, honestly, Christopher Lee was more Christopher Lee in Gremlins 2.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't doing anything in that movie.
It was like in that one James Bond movie, when he said, a friend on Twitter sent me the picture when he drives the little big Pinto, the flying Pinto in James Bond movie, and it's him with what's his name? Is it Hervé Vorchis, the plane guy?
Yeah.
And it was pretty rad. And I was like, that's how Attack of the Clones should have ended.
Missed opportunity, man, was getting him in an Austin Powers film.
Yeah, that's true.
Christopher Lee would have been a great villain or rival, like the brother of Dr. Evil, But
I will say, Allison, the most Tolkien thing he did was his version of it with Willow, probably, which was like the fast version.
No shit.
Right?
He literally was like, "Oh, we don't have to pay for The Hobbit. I didn't pay for Flash Gordon. I'm doing this." Oh.
But Allison said in Star Wars, so I'm
in Star Wars.
So Dark Winter says, will this be the Filoni version of the Thrawn trilogy? Yeah. See, that's
Philogy.
Philogy. It's a Philogy.
It's a scramble. I got to work the word jumble out. I'll work it out.
when he has 3 shows at one time, that's a Philogy. So
it sounds horribly wrong.
Yeah, it does.
We got to get the shirt Philogy.
Philogy.
It's got the hat.
I got kicked out of the Philogy whenever they kicked me out of the place where I look at his movies.
It is my favorite, most memorable moment from just reading your site was when they were looking at you,
Yeah,
with camera on them, and I'm like, that is what I mean. Look, as a creator, you'd love to work with them. But as a fan, that's the one I want more than anything in the world is this motherfucker. Because they won't remember you if you work with them. They'll remember that. Like that, they're going to remember. Yeah, you were the guy.
Yeah, not to call them Nazis because they're not. But it was like they were just like, this motherfucker, like looking at me. And then my kids popped out and waved. And then they waved back. They were like, okay.
Like the UFOs, right? Like they're like, we waved at the UFO, and then they waved back, and they're like, fucking paparazzi, fucking humans.
Yeah. So okay, Jordan says, do you think Thrawn will die before the sequel trilogy? I think that would make sense.
You made it. Was it when we were with Ben? You made a timeline of how you thought it would fly, and that Thrawn would probably have to go before the trilogy. Like he would have been the villain of the in between time kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and I was like, it can go because of how he's removed from the Empire by Ezra's little trick at the end. Actually, really, 1 second, my son's school is calling, so I'm gonna throw it to you, and good luck. Be right back.
Oh no, I can't even see the chat. So I think when it comes to this part of the show, we should just hang out with Giorgio. I don't think Mara Jade should be in the sequel trilogy at all. Yeah. I just hope that with Thrawn, guys, like, it's just, when you put a smart character up on screen and they're constantly failing.
I have to go.
I'm just about to talk some. Oh, you gotta go.
I have to go pick up the kid.
Then we're done.
Yeah, so we are done unless you want to keep going.
No.
Okay.
I can't see the
sorry,
chat.
Guys.
If I could see the chat, I could talk to him, but I can't.
So sorry, guys. Weird day, but we'll make it up to you. Okay. Sorry, guys, but that's live stuff. Thanks, guys. Bye.